Thank you, Roger. And thank you, Heather, for choosing that beautiful piece. Wow, I'd forgotten that. That's the incredible last line. Thou in me dwelling, and I one with thee. And I with thee. Right, beautiful. Welcome, everybody. Small congregation here and larger congregation I can already see on my phone at home. The Lord be with you.
And also
with you.
As we did last week, let's pray the beginning of the gathering prayer, which is the Serenity Prayer, and it will be a repeat after me opportunity, and we'll just do the part that the 12-step groups use, for instance. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Your turn. God, grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change.
Courage to change the things I can.
Courage to change the things I can.
And wisdom to know the difference.
And wisdom to know the difference.
Amen. The theme of the evening is to live boldly and have that boldness deeply rooted in God and prayer. And a particularly appropriate psalm for that would be this portion of Psalm 119 for those of you who have a prayer book at home. I know that's not many, but still some do. It's on page 767 in the Book of Common Prayer. Page 767. And what we'll do in unison are verses 44 through 48 of Psalm 119. Together. I shall continue to keep your law. I shall keep it forever and ever. I will walk at liberty because I study your commandments. I will tell of your decrees before kings and will not be ashamed. I delight in your commandments, which I have always loved. I will lift up my hands to your commandments, and I will meditate on your statutes. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. Amen. I am so excited that I and everybody else gets to hear tonight's speaker, who's a woman of incredible faith, a vestry member, which is to say on the church board. Will you both here and at home help me welcome with love? And I got this exactly right from Heather. This is the exact way I should say her title with military exactness. This is the Senior Master Sergeant, retired Heather Bowman.
Good evening. My message tonight deals with going blindly, go boldly, but pray. Generally, as people grow up, they have a plan or a direction for their life, and they move forward without ever looking back. I had a plan, but it didn't work. For various reasons, I changed course, an extreme course that I so boldly and blindly, but with little preparation. I was always the artistic one, the educated one, not the athletic one. However, the ultimate choice I made would alter my life forever. What did I do? I joined the Air Force. I was in no way physically prepared, but mentally I was ready, or so I thought. At the time, I was not very religious. I didn't go to church as a child. However, in my own way, I prayed I made the right decision based on things my parents did teach me as a child. I needed to pray hard. Basic training alone altered me from the quirky, want to be fashion illustrator to a more aloof, sometimes hard-gazing airman. As I progressed through the military and in life, I learned more and more about what it was to move blindly or boldly, but to also pray. I began to attend chapels on base and various Episcopal churches in the communities. I needed this as I met people and struggled with others. One of the first bold moves I made was to trade my initial duty assignment with a tech school buddy. This was to alter my personal life forever. It allowed me to meet my wingman, Jim Bowman. When my husband and I first met at my first duty station in Texas, we knew each other that in only 3 months we would be married. People in his squadron literally took bets we would fail. I wasn't sure what to expect. Even my supervisor tried to talk me out of it because statistically, young marriages in the military failed, or they were used for the wrong reasons. I knew it was going against the flow, but from personal experience, I knew it would work. My mother and father married 3 weeks after meeting and had been married well over 50 years. This is where I knew prayer would always be needed at work, especially for military members. I went blindly in love and boldly against them all, but prayed that God would carry us through. We've been married for 31 years come Valentine's Day. One of the most dynamic moments in my career came as an opportunity arose for me to become an Airman Leadership School instructor, an ALS instructor. I needed a change from my primary duty as a diet therapy technician. Personnel apply for special duty assignments to strengthen their career records and personal leadership abilities. This particular opportunity basically meant teaching leadership skills to airmen in order for them to get promoted to the non-commissioned ranks. While getting ready for the opportunity, I wanted to apply for the position at my base in Florida. When word went around that I applied, I became known as the wild card. One chief explained that they thought it was because the leadership already pre-planned who they wanted in their schoolhouse, and then I showed up unexpectedly. They told me it was up to me if I wanted to proceed. They just didn't want me to be disappointed. I went ahead anyway. Ironically, the day I was supposed to meet the board, I became extremely ill, went to the ER, received an IV, but still opted to face the board 2 hours later. Although impressed by me, I still did not get the job. I guess the chiefs were right. The fix was in. Not to be swayed, I was going to find my next opportunity. This time, I applied at the Special Operations Base, 12 miles from my home base, taking a one-on-one interview with the commandant. I prayed that everything would work in my favor. Thankfully, within days, I received the call I was accepted to be an ALS instructor for Herbert Field, Florida, one of the most impactful, meaningful moments of my career in life. Known as the quiet professionals, it fortified my belief in go boldly, but pray. It was during this time frame that 9/11 happened. On September 10, 2001, ironically, the schoolhouse had a new lesson pertaining to threats, both foreign and domestic. It was not a testable lesson, so as I volunteered to take all 45 to 72 students into the auditorium, I opted to instruct them on the material myself. Little did I know the horror that would occur the next day. On September 11th, 2001, after the students were done with the physical training and getting ready for the academic part of the day, my admin tech phoned into my office telling me to watch the news. When I first saw the TV, all I thought was there was an accident like the movie The Towering Inferno. We found out otherwise as the hours passed. Students seemed to avoid me, wondering what magic ball I looked into the day before. It was all any of the instructors could do to keep the students engaged in classes when all the warfighters wanted to do was join their peers in the good fight. It was still early in my special duty career, but those days taught me valuable lessons. I was the instructor at a critical base, but I was never more important than any of my students. Every day I prayed that I told them the right things to do and taught them the correct actions to take. Their careers and lives were in my hands. What they learned there were not the warfighting skills, but the leadership skills needed beyond the weapons For the pen, as they say, is mightier than the sword. What I learned, what carried me in duties as a senior non-commissioned officer, impacted myself and others for years to come. With every day that passed, I prayed driving to work and definitely leaving work. It didn't matter what rank I wore, I felt I made more than enough missteps. However, as long as I prayed, I could make the best decision and live with it. You were never prepared for what people would ask. I would remind them, as long as regulations are in black and white, a junior member should feel comfortable declining illegal verbal or written orders. As a senior NCO, it was my job to tell leadership what they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear. Throughout my career and life, I would move forward, sometimes boldly, sometimes blindly without thought, knowing that if I prayed, God's voice would be there to guide me and let me know I was on the right path. In the weeks and months ahead, as we try to think about what our new normal is, some might not know what they should do boldly and feel everything is done blindly. With prayer, we will succeed. I have gone through life not knowing all the right answers, but knowing that God has had them all along. A vast majority of my life, from the time I was 18 and a half years old to 45 years old, I followed the orders of those appointed over me and prayed for guidance from the one above us all. Sometimes, where some may be bold to say, God, take the steering wheel, I have boldly learned to say, God, I have the steering wheel, you take the steering house. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Can you stay by the microphone? Grab my phone. I'll go to the side. The tradition at this time is to allow people, we few or the many more at home, to ask questions, comments, compliments. I'm actually going to begin with one. I think it's safe and obvious to say you excelled in a profession which is dominated by men. My daughter's becoming a commercial pilot, and it's almost just like an unwritten code, the level of machismo in that, to its credit and discredit at times, because if you watch most of the airplane wrecks, often it's a little exaggeration of talent. But do you have any words about any tricks that you would do consciously, being a minority woman in a largely male profession? Anything to share on how that works or how one survives that?
Just what I would suggest is keep your wits about you, don't get emotional, and learn communication skills. 99.9% of the time, everything that's going to get messed up in life is lack of communication skills. Don't get emotional on either side. Learn to speak to people.
Specifically to gender, did you find that that was advantage, disadvantage, or was it really not all that pertinent?
I honestly had no problems interacting either way because I learned early on how to speak to people. When I did even have problems with supervisors, I pulled them aside, and the other second thing is get your facts straight. If you know someone's coming at you with misinformation, then you need to make sure you get your material straight. There was a couple of times where in my career I could have got in serious trouble by no fault of my own, but I got my materials ready and I proved my facts all the time.
Great. Thank you. Are you reading questions there, Joseph, on the screen?
Yeah.
Let me,
Lots of compliments.
lots
Yeah,
of compliments.
it's mainly compliments.
Great message, wow, says Cindy Bird. Wow, 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 says Rachel Black. Not the same message exactly, right? Thanks from Carol P. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Heather, says Carol Pierce Thorson. You are truly a woman of faith. That is true, isn't it? You are a force to be reckoned with for sure. Great message. Thanks for sharing your 9/11 experience. Happy, almost blessed birthday. No, this is somebody else, sorry. Thank you, says Kelly Morgan. This is a very timely message, which is true, and thank you for the end there. Listening to God's guidance is always the right answer, even if it makes us uncomfortable. That's from Kelly Morgan. Live with facts and you always win. Questions from anyone here? I think we're set. Would you be willing to lead us in the prayer?
We'll go ahead and begin with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever.
Amen. And before you give us the final dismissal, Heather, may I remind everybody that this coming Sunday, we'll have our first ever drive-in service at the Epiphany Episcopal Church at 8 a.m. I already know some people will be coming early to get the best parking spaces. We're pretty confident that it's going to be not so hot that the service is a go and a success. 8 a.m. and then at 10 a.m., as we've been doing now for nearly, 2 months, we will again have the live stream without a congregation. If you want to be physically present on the property, your only option is 8 a.m. We are not opening up the sanctuary service for the 10 a.m. It's a live stream exactly the same as last week. And we've renewed now Supper Song and Praise on Wednesday nights, and we are also doing centering prayer virtually on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Go in peace as we seek God, live Christ, and share in the Spirit.
Thanks be to God. Alleluia.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Thanks again, Heather.